There's a sound a hospital makes at night that it never makes in the day. Not the beeps. You stop hearing the beeps in your first week. Underneath, listen, 400 people breathing in one building. And between the breaths, someone walking.
That's the care shift. Someone is always walking. And tonight, we're walking with her. You've met her before, first episode, the stethoscope, 40 hearts a shift. We never told you her name because she asked us not to. She said the shift matters more than the nurse.
Season 3, The New Light. Episode 4, The Care Shift. 7 p.m. The handoff. Day shift and night shift stand at the board for 11 minutes and pass each other 400 lives, bed by bed, number by number, worry by worry. It's the oldest ritual in medicine, and it has never once appeared on a bill.
Watch what actually gets handed over. Not the charts, the machines already know the charts. She points at room 12. He gets scared around 3. No monitor on Earth knows that. That sentence has been passed from nurse to nurse for 6 nights. Like a candle nobody lets go out.
The ward settles, lights down to embers, and the building begins its second life, the one run by rhythms. Every bed keeps its own time now, a pulse, a drip, a breath. From a station, it looks like a town at nightfall. Every window keeping its own heartbeat.
Her first round takes 40 minutes, bed to bed, and here's the strange part. The machines have already told her everything is fine. She goes anyway. When we asked why, she looked at us the way you'd look at someone who asked why you check on a sleeping child.
Being watched over at night used to be the most expensive thing in the world. A person who stays awake so you don't have to be sick alone in the dark. For most of history, that person was your mother, your sister, your daughter. The night watch was a family tax, paid mostly by women, recorded mostly nowhere.
1854. A military hospital at Scutari. After midnight, one woman walks miles of wards with a lamp, and wounded soldiers, the story says, kissed her shadow as it passed along the wall. Florence Nightingale statistics went on to rebuild hospitals. But the shadow is what the soldiers remembered. Her numbers saved their bodies. The lamp told them they mattered.
For a century after her, the night nurse was the monitor. She counted your heart with 2 fingers and a pocket watch. She was the sensor, the alarm, and the record. One tired human being with 40 beds.
Which is why the old night missed things. Not from carelessness, from arithmetic. 40 beds, 1 pair of eyes. A heart can slip away quietly in the 20 minutes between rounds. The history of night care is a history of love losing to math.
Then the machines learned to stay awake. This is what the night looks like to them now. Every ridge, a heartbeat. Every row of hills, a bed. The whole dark building, laid out as a landscape, breathing.
And they never blink. Hundreds of readings a second, 400 beds, every second of every night. The arithmetic that defeated a century of night nurses, solved. Nobody slips away in the gap between rounds anymore, because the round never ends.
And care stopped being a place. Around the planet, the night shift is a wheel now. As her ward settles, a handoff begins in the next time zone west. Nightingale's lamp never went out. It went into orbit. It left the hospital, too. It's in her mother's house. 81 years old, living alone, 400 kilometers away. The folded map from last episode. Remember. A sensor under the mattress. An emergency pendant she promises she wears. A kettle that quietly reports it has been used.
Sit with what that sentence costs. The woman who spends every night keeping watch over strangers pays a machine to keep watch over her own mother. Not because she doesn't love her, because she can't fold the map twice. So she checks the app on her break. Green dot, kettle at 7. Motion in the kitchen at 9. Her mother translated into weather.
One night in March, the dot wasn't green. At 2:14, the mattress sensor noticed a weight leave the bed and not come back. At 2:16, a phone lit up in a nurse's station 400 kilometers away. And at 2:19, a neighbor with a spare key stood in a dark kitchen doorway, saying, "It's me. It's Prakash from next door. Don't be frightened."
She'd fainted, dehydration, nothing worse, back in her own bed by 4. But here's the question that kept us up all week. Who saved her? The sensor that noticed? The wire that carried it? Or the old man who came in his slippers and stayed until sunrise? Because a machine can raise an alert, but it cannot sit in a kitchen.
The machine did exactly what machines do. It watched perfectly. And then it did the one wise thing it's built to do at the edge of its ability. It found a human. Every alert chain on Earth ends the same way. The last link is always a person getting up in the dark. Which brings us to the sentence this whole night has been walking toward. The watching can be automated. The vigil cannot.
Because watching is data and a vigil is meaning. A monitor can tell you the heart slowed at 3:40. It takes a person to decide that 3:40 is when you wake the daughter because she would want to be woken. No specification sheet has ever had a field for she would want to be woken. If these ideas stay with you after the video ends, keep opening the next door.
And now the part the fear always drowns out. This is not a story about machines replacing care. Count what came back when accounting left.
The night nurse of 1950 spent most of her shift being a sensor. Pulse by pulse, bed by bed, hours of her night spent counting. Hand the counting to the machines, and what remains is the one thing no hospital ever budgeted for: time. Time to sit. Time to explain. Time to hold. The machines didn't take the human out of care. They took the clerk out of the nurse.
Watch her at 4 a.m. in room 12. The man who gets scared around 3. The monitors have him. Every number is green. She isn't looking at the numbers. She's holding his hand. This is what it looks like when the machine watches so that a person is free to stay.
And think of everyone the old night simply never reached. The farmer 3 hours from the nearest hospital, whose heart is now read every night by the same grade of machine as a president's. The daughter who finally stopped sleeping in a hallway chair, not because she stopped caring, because the watching is handled, and now her visits get to be visits.
The teenager from last episode, the one with an edge of the world instead of schoolyard, her grandfather wears a heart patch now, and she built the little dashboard herself. For 1,000 kilometers away, she's the first to know every single morning that he woke up. She says it's the closest thing to hearing him breathe.
Now the part where we split, and this time it isn't theoretical for me. My mother is the woman with the pendant she only pretends to wear. And some nights I think the sensors are how I abandoned her politely. The dot is green, so I don't call. The machine is watching, so I don't visit. We didn't automate the vigil. We automated the excuse.
And I'd answer, before the sensors, you wouldn't have called more. You'd have worried more. Guilt and care are different weights, and the machines only lifted one of them. But I'll give you this. The green dot makes it easier to look away and call it looking. We're not settling this one either. 3 more mornings. It's almost 5 now. Listen to the ward one more time. Somewhere on this floor, a monitor is counting a heart that is very slowly finishing its work. The family has been called. The machines will keep perfect minutes of this night. And the nurse, off the clock in 20 minutes, has pulled a chair to the bed, because the last link is always a person staying.
We left before dawn. Some rooms you leave quietly.
She clocks out at 4:40, walks home through the cold. 20 minutes, the only stretch of the night that belongs to her. Unlocks a dark kitchen, and at exactly 4:57, puts the kettle on.
You've heard this kettle before. It opened this season. The first morning of the new light began with a kettle at 4:57, and we let you believe it was the start of someone's day. It was the end of someone's night. It always was. The new light doesn't just arrive with the dawn. Someone carries it home from the night shift.
Next time, the long afternoon. What a species does when the hard part is handled. Abundance, boredom, and the strange new work of learning to want things again. Bring your restlessness. We didn't decide tonight whether the sensors are presence or absence, a longer reach for love or a politer distance. It's both. It was always going to be both. But here's the question worth carrying home, and we warn you, it doesn't have a comfortable answer.
When your night comes, and it comes for all of us, would you rather be watched perfectly or held imperfectly? If this journey changed how you see the world, walking with us further helps the series reach more curious minds. That's all the button is.
This was the brand door.